Hi everyone and welcome to the Bartlett Society of Engineering and Architectural Design's fourth career workshop. This one will be on portfolios for internships. Welcome to everyone who's in the meeting and also anyone who's watching the recording later. So today we'll have three people present on the topic of portfolios, and you'll see Malena, Alexandra, and June. And you can see on this side what internships they've done, and they'll show you a bit of their portfolios, what they've compiled together for internships, and kind of what to put in it, some tips on how many projects, length, and stuff like that. So let's begin with Malena.
Hello, everyone. So before stepping into the actual content on the portfolio, I just want to highlight some things to also have into consideration before. The first one being that when you do an application, they won't just check your portfolio, like they will also check your cover letter, the recommendation letter about like the tutor speaking about you, your CV, the place where you study, and all that goes together. So make sure you are also checking those tutorials, because we also mentioned things about the summer internships there that are very important and relevant to the actual portfolio. So just take into consideration that it's not just about these, like the other things go together. And if there's some information that you are not saying somewhere, you're going to be saying it in a different place. So make sure you have that in mind. The next thing that I really want to highlight is the fact that if you're applying to an architecture or to a structural engineering company, or even to an environmental, like to any company, just depending on the job, I would suggest always make sure you're sort of editing your portfolio to meet sort of the needs of each of the different jobs that you would be having in each of the different disciplines. So if it's more architectural, include more drawings, more renders. But if it's more like structural, then of course include more like softwares, include more like construction models or things like that. So always to be like have in mind that there might be some things that you would always have like in all portfolios, but depending on the job where you might be applying, you might want to shape that as a bit as well. And next thing I want to say is that the portfolio that you're going to see is the one that I had sort of before like getting to the end of the second year, like not really towards the end. So like this doesn't really include like all the final like drawings that I did during second year. And if I would do this again this year, firstly I would apply probably to different companies, but I would probably also include a page with just like structural analysis or just environmental analysis to show more my skills. And the other thing would be that the main thing you want to have in mind when you apply somewhere, because you might only have like 5 to 10 pages, and 5 to 10 things to show, would be to maybe just show that a bit of every single thing that you can do. And always quality, it's better than quantity. So it's better to show just one thing that is really well done than many. And most of the places will sometimes just ask you for like one page, as SOM did, for example, last year. So make sure you have that in mind. So this is from last year. This is the first page, and I'm just showing a bit of like how I'm diagramming things, a bit of the style, a bit that how can I sort of like show information through diagrams, through drawings, and all of this is a lot like site information and like geographic information and the way of showing it. So it's like very personal and to for my style. But what I'm showing with this is that I sort of have an intuition of how to like organize things, how to show things, how to put into drawings and to like architecture diagrams, background information, so that they know. In my second page, and this is just like one page where I'm putting like various pages of my portfolios to show like different information. I'm continuing a bit the same, but here I have like case studies, I have information about different things. I also have a section, so like showing a bit the the sort of work that I've been doing lately, but making sure it's just like very different things so that they see the sort of branch that there can be. The next page is, okay, Ina, I'm in like page 5 right now. Are you on page 5? Because I'm like seeing page 5 right now. Okay. Great. This is just like a very big map to show them again. Like I'd say that probably year 1 and year 2 is much more about the skills and what you can actually do than your actual style, because whenever you apply to an internship, they might just want to know like the sort of Rhino skills that you have, the Adobe skills that you have, maybe the Grasshopper skills. So just about showing them that, because that's the sort of work that you are going to be doing, just very simple like plans, sections, maybe some renders, some drawings, but you won't really be doing like the conceptual or the style part of a project. So just make sure you're showing them that you have the skills that they need and that you can help with. Next page is of an actual model and the sort of ideas and some renders with it. This was from like P1 from the first year. So just showing them a picture of the end product, some details, some renders, and then the next page I was showing sort of the concept of the whole idea, how the iteration, the intervention was sort of supposed to work with a small diagram, showing them again that I can like work with Photoshop, that I can work with layers, that I can sort of show an idea. And the next phase is like probably getting a bit into the details, just so they know that I can work like in 3 dimensions in Axo, that I can like iterate an idea, make it better, that I can also 3D print, that I'm sort of like improving a project or different parts that the project has. And then last page, it's very simple. It's what I did in year 1. Again, this is again from like last year. So I was just like 2 years into the course, and of course my portfolio is a bit different to what it would be now, but it was kind of just putting together like the highlights of everything that they would do and the sort of range of programs that I could use and that I could use in their practice. And these are like 10 pages, but some of the places would ask less, so I would pick the best ones. Some places, like for example VR Kinga's group, they had like a section to apply your portfolio, but then they also had a section to just apply like a picture of a model, a picture of a plan, a picture of something specifically, so like they just wanted to see if you were really able to like use those programs, or like if you were really able to like build something in different sections. So it really depends from the place where you apply. But I'd say if you're in year 1 or year 2, pick the best things that you have. Again, quality over quantity, and the things that do actually show a skill that you would be using in your internship or that the place would be using, because that's always a win-win. And that's on my side. Thank you.
Do you not want to mention a bit about your website?
Yeah, sorry guys, I forgot about this. So at the end of my first year, I did a website of my portfolio because I had done the same on my high school, with like the things I used to apply for university, and also with my portfolio there. This is also linked to my YouTube channel and to the LinkedIn, and I really, really highly recommend. If you're in 3rd year, you probably have already this, or if you don't have it, it's because you don't want to. But for the first and the 2nd years, really, really highly recommend, like really do it. Build a website with your portfolio, with your style, have the link to your website, maybe in your email bio, or like whenever you're sending an application or putting in your CV. I have the website in my CV, I have the website in my portfolio as well, because here you can put the range of everything you've been doing, not just reduced. And if the people want to get to know like more things, or they either like ask for them like in your interview, or they would either like click on the website. But this is just a way in which people can easily and in a very accessible and interactive way see your work. They will really click on it, really like it really works. It's just a place where you can add everything for the record, for yourself, to like sell yourself to other people. And it shows a lot of like professionalism as well, and it's something that will really make a change. Like if they have to get someone that has a website and someone that doesn't, even if they have the same portfolio, then they would go for the person that has the website, because this is also using like professional practice, and the fact that you can like create a website with your things will really help. Like whatever you go, you might have to do the same. So really highly recommend. There's a lot of like free platforms. It doesn't have to be this one. This one costs a bit of money, but for me personally, it's really worth it. It's not that much, and it's just a way of like starting your, like your own niche, like your own like sort of practice in that sense. Thank you.
Thank you, Melena. Next, we'll have Ola speaking about her portfolio.
Hi guys. I think my first piece of advice would be about cover page. So I think it's much better to have like your best drawing, your best render as your cover page. So it's gonna encourage the HR to actually go for your portfolio. Like the cover page you can see on the left hand side was my initial cover page, but then I changed it to the one on the right hand side. Then the other thing I would say, the best size of your portfolio should be like 35 max pages, because then, as Malena said, it's much better to have better quality over quantity. So I would say maybe condense your work more and then have like 35 pages and like 100 pages of portfolio, and I don't know, one drawing per page. Then I would say include at least like 2 projects, and don't worry about the text because probably they're not gonna read it, even if it's like, because if it's too small or something, like not because, but like if it's too small, they're anyway not gonna read it. And probably focus on your integrated design project, because usually they're most impressed about those projects that we can actually um, do environmental analysis and structural analysis and then do the architecture. So what I mean by that, like put your, as your first project in your portfolio, place your integrated design project. Next slide, please. And then I would say there are like 4 main things that you should include in your portfolio, like physical model, drawings, diagrams, and renders. For example, for me, when I had my interview, I forgot to include any renders. And the first question after my interview was if you have any renders. But like if you don't have any, it's fine as well. But if you have some, just include it. It will be much better. And then next slide, please. And then that's kind of like a template that I usually use for my introduction page. So I kind of like to have critical thinking and project requirements on the first page. So people that don't know your project at all can read what was it about or what was your idea. Then include some research. Yeah, and then for example, I like to include some collages. So it shows that I'm kind of creative person or maybe a little bit artsy or stuff like that. So they can see you can think like outside the box and things like that. Then some like basics like stakeholders, stakeholders, funding, site mapping. And then I usually also include like social and political response, because it can show that, I don't know, you want to expand your research and see it from many different angles. Next slide, please. And then I would say have at least 1 page for environmental analysis and then 1 page for structural analysis. And also mention which software did you use, because it's pretty important, because we know loads of softwares and we should be proud about it. And then in terms of structural analysis, 1 page before, yeah. For structural analysis, I wouldn't include any like calculations of your wind loads or live loads or imposed loads. Just include some diagrams and I don't know, screenshots of your iterations from GSA or some other software. Then mention your key environmental strategies, and if you had any problems during design process, also tell about it and how did you solve them. Next slide, please. And yeah, those are kind of like some additional portfolio pages of mine. Yeah, some site mapping, some description of my program, and some additional structural or environmental analysis, and some portfolio pages from my model making process. Okay, that's it for me. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Ola. Next, we're going to have June talk about her projects.
Thank you. Hi, I'm June. Sorry if my background is a bit loud. I'm in the Bartlett. But yeah, so I applied, I think, early June, right after I finished P2 in year 2. So my portfolio was mainly around, I think, 20 pages, including P1 and P2. I had just 2 pages of year 1 stuff, but I think that didn't have to be on the portfolio. So basically what you're seeing right now is my P1 project, and I put that mainly for the physical models because the place I applied for, it was a Japanese firm, and the Japanese architecture firms, I knew that they do a lot of quite heavy in physical model making. So I thought it would be a good way to show that I have been in the workshop, I can use the basic tools. And I guess it's a way to show that you can deal with different materials, not just on computers. Next page, please. For environmental and structural stuff, I put from my P2 project in just 1 page each. But that was because the firm I applied to was a pure architecture firm and they're not like an integrated firm. So that's why it was just 1 page each. But I think this really depends on the type of the firm that you're going for. If it's more of an integrated firm, then definitely put a bit more of structural and environmental. I guess including like the results pages from Design Builder even will be good to show that you can use these softwares. But in my case, I didn't because I thought they wouldn't really look into these data type stuff and experience. So, and then the last few pages was just all of my final drawings, 1 drawing per page. And because it was an online submission, I just put them as its original sizes. So not all pages were A2. So like the one you see on the right, it was a long, I don't know what the size was, but it was not A2. And I just put it all together in PDF. So I don't think they're very strict with like the page sizes and formats as far as I could see. And like Ola said earlier, I assumed they won't read any of the text. So it was mainly just images of the final drawings. And the next slide, please. Yeah, so these are my other 2 drawings that I put, the long section and the asymmetric drawings. I think in terms of drawings, to be honest, I didn't really know what they were expecting. So I just put everything I had. I didn't really have much at that point last year. So everything I had, I just put it in. And also in terms of application, I just want to mention that the firm I applied to, they were actually specifying that you have to be year 3 or above to apply. And when I applied, I just finished year 2. So I obviously didn't meet that requirement, but then I applied anyways and hoped for the best. So I just wanted to say that it's sometimes, I guess, just worth really trying, even if you might think that you're not what you're looking for. It's kind of, I think, worth it to just apply. Yeah, that's it.
Thank you so much, June, and everyone else who presented. Hopefully that gives a bit of overview to the people in year 1 and year 2 who might be applying for internships for the first time and kind of what we've been putting. If anyone who's now in the meeting wants to ask any questions, those are welcome right now.
I have one actually.
Yeah, sure, just unmute
When you're
yourself and ask.
applying for, when you have interviews and things like these for architecture internships, do they typically spend time on your structural engineering and environmental engineering pages when they're asking you questions? Like, what's the amount of time they spend on it?
If I can answer that, because it always depends on the place. Because if you're applying to like an architecture firm and you're going to do like an architecture job, they might like the fact that you know about it, but they won't really spend a lot of time on it. In my interview for BRK English group, I actually had to go like because it was like before P2, like midway P2. So like more than a year ago, I went over like quickly all my portfolio from P1. So I told them that it was very integrated, like the whole design, how everything was like done like taking always into consideration the structural and the environmental point of view, and they really liked it. So like in the conversation they were very integrated. Like I never had it as like two very separated things. Maybe like the site analysis might be separated, but in my case, I feel it depends on the place. It depends on what they are focusing in, because if they just want you for something architectural, they might not care. But some people might find it really interesting. At least in my case, it was like that. I don't know about the other people.
Yeah, for my interview, they were pretty impressed with the environmental stuff, but they didn't ask really any questions. It was more like comment that, oh, that's cool. And yeah, but I feel like it's really dependent on what firm you're applying to. And they didn't mention any structural stuff for me, at least.
Yeah, it was the same for me, so I don't really have anything to add.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, also I think that the three people that are here and like that we presented, we all went for like architecture jobs, like not the ones that are structural or environmental. So maybe that's why. But it's usually not like that, right? Like it's usually other jobs might take it more into consideration. Yeah.
Usually, what seems to be the general impression from everyone in the current year three that has done internships is that most people quite like, even like people who did structured internships, they still submitted portfolios, and everyone seemed to quite like the integration of the three disciplines, or at least like have some focus on it. I guess a bit less for architect, because there you apply for like a specific, say like architecture part one internship or something like that. Whereas with structural environmental, it could be a bit more like unclear what your tasks are going to be. So they like that from you looking at your portfolio, they can figure out what tasks they can give you. Because for architecture part one, they have very specific things that they'll usually ask you to do, I guess. Whereas with other things, they're a bit like more open to seeing what you can do and then giving you tasks based on that. But in any case, I think it's always good. And for me, even though I haven't applied to too many internships, I don't have really a portfolio to show. But I am or would be putting, other than those pages just from DP2, P1, P2, I would also be putting a couple like snippets from structural reports or from the projects that we've done, like duct sizing and other stuff like that. So I've got pages from some other projects. And of course, it's great to show the big like A2, A1 drawings that we do for design projects. But it's also really cool to show the structural reports, and they can, obviously you're not going to take a page that's just calculations. I always use one that has diagrams or like something from one of the presentations we're making. But especially for if someone is applying after year one, of course you're not going to have the whole building project to show. You only have your DMI, and so you have the pavilions, you can show the pavilions. For us it's a bit different right now because we didn't get to build our pavilions. But I guess for the people who are now in year one or in year two who build their pavilions, it might be good to focus a lot on like showing the actual photos, to show that this is what I designed, here are the drawings, and then it was actually built. I think that might also be quite impressive. um but obviously, yeah, it's a bit different for us because we didn't build them. um yeah, if we have any other questions. All right. Thank you everyone who attended, and thank you everyone who is watching this. Feel free to always reach out to us, and I hope you enjoy this.
Thank you.